Hey there, this is Mark Joyner, and I once wrote a book in a day. You're about to learn how I did it. Okay, I'm about to lay on you the top 5 hacks I used to write a book in a day. Now, before I tell you what those hacks are, I want to head off some potential objections I know people are going to be saying in their minds out there. They might be saying a book, well, how long of a book? Well, as books go, this wasn't the longest of books, but it was a full-length hardcover book. Now, another thing people might say is, well, it probably wasn't all that good. I mean, how good of a book could you write in a single day? Well, this book was printed, in fact, by one of the top 3 major publishing houses in the world, and it is now in print in 25 different languages, and it is being used as a textbook in universities around the world. The book in question is one called The Irresistible Offer, which you may be familiar with, and I have done this with 2 other books since then. So, how did I do it? Well, hack number 5 is caffeine. Now, I'm saying these in ascending order. Caffeine is the least most important of these. Did it help? Probably helped a bit, but is it the be-all end-all? I don't think so. You see, I know a lot of folks that are out there using smart drugs like modafinil and things like that, and I've experimented with these things as well. But here's the thing. If it were the limitless pill, people would be writing books in a day all over the place, and they're simply not doing it. Now, it helped me out, but I probably could have done without it. Now, the next most important thing is what I call catered seclusion. What I did was I went to a restaurant. I was living in Auckland, New Zealand at the time, and I went to this little restaurant in the Viaduct Harbor, and I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to be doing a lot of work today, and what I want you guys to do is to wait on me hand and foot. Don't distract me with anything. Don't ask me if I need anything. If I need something, I will wave. I want you to see me and then come get what I need. All right, and I want to be set aside away from other people, so nothing is bothering me. I had basically 2 jobs. One was to write, and 2 was to go to the bathroom. Now, the reason all of these details are important is that every little tiny micro distraction you're going to get from Messenger for checking stuff on Facebook or checking stats or, seeing people walk by and getting distracted by all that, every single one of those is going to take you out of your focus, not just for that split second in time, but studies have found that it actually takes 2 to 3 times longer to get yourself back in the groove. So a little micro distraction is not just that loss of time, but multiples of that time. And when you start to add that up, that becomes a rather sizable cut into the time you have available. Now, the third trick that I used was one that is not really too spectacular, but very, very important, and that was to start with an outline. Most people go out and they set out to write a book and they don't really have any idea what they're going to say. And so what happens is they start censoring and editing themselves. They start to experience this phenomenon called the squelcher. Now, what the squelcher does is it gives you negative feedback for creativity. Every time that voice inside your head says, hey, that's a bad idea, or maybe you should say that a different way, or, this is never going to work. Why are you even bothering trying to write a book? Every time you do that, it's like punishing yourself, and it's like rewarding that negative side of yourself so that you become less and less and less creative. So what you've got to do is you've got to turn that off, and one of the most powerful ways to turn that off is to start with an outline so that you have a very clear idea of what you're going to do. You're not second guessing yourself. Now, the second trick is tied directly into the squelcher as well, and that is to set a rule for yourself. And that rule is do not hit the backspace key at all. So when I'm writing and I'm in that zone, if I know that I need to edit something, I don't hit the backspace key and then, retype it. I write it again, or I write a note to myself that this needs editing. And then when I come back later and do the editing process, then I will go back and then fine tune the words. Now, the order in which you do these things is extremely important, because if you edit yourself during the process of writing, what's happening? Again, you're turning that squelcher on, you're feeding the squelcher, and you're penalizing the part of your brain that is in charge of creativity, which is the exact opposite of what you want. Now, the last trick is one that I don't want to explain to you right now. It is one I want you to experience. Why? Because it is probably the most important thing I can tell you about productivity, if not the single most important thing I can tell you about life in general. So what I have done is I have set up a way for you to experience an epiphany about this. I want you to go to simpleology.com/. every man. And what you're going to do there is you're going to see a blog post. You're going to read that blog post, and the day later, we're going to send you an email to read another blog post. It's a series of 4 blog posts, and then it culminates in a 5th step of giving you a comic book to read that will give you the big major aha. Now, all of this is directly engineered to manufacture that epiphany experience for you so that when you learn this, you don't ever forget it. Because if I were to tell it to you right now, you would hear it and you go, wow, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. And then you would forget it. And that would be an enormous mistake. Because again, I have said these in ascending order of importance. Number 1 is the single most important. And it is so important that I want to take you through this epiphany experience.